Hi, it's Rhonda Kuning back here again with another file folder. It's file folder page number 10, and I'm starting with a pile of rubbish. Might finish with a pile of rubbish, but it's what I'm starting with. It's all scraps out of my waste paper basket, basically some bits of newspaper and everything just glued on, and I ripped off all the loose bits because I just wanted just the effect of having rubbish all over the page. And now I am putting some watered down gesso. Now this printout is available on my website on hopeinheart.net, and I'm just cutting out the main piece and screwing it up so that I can glue it down and have some wrinkles and things in it, using Mod Podge again to glue that down. Of course, when I screwed it up I tore a little bit off, so I just glued it on again after. Now I'm putting some clear gesso over the top. I could have glued it down with the clear gesso, but I forgot and used Mod Podge. The gesso is necessary for the drawing here afterwards, otherwise you just can't draw on Mod Podge after it's dry. And I'm using a watercolour pencil and just putting in some shading to give a little bit of a three-dimensional effect. The quote here today is, "God doesn't make garbage, but he loves to upcycle." And now I am trying out a new brush. It's called a blender brush. It's cut on a little bit of an angle, and I'm using some Payne's Grey diluted with a little bit of matte medium to do my shading. Just going over where I went with the watercolour pencil and defining the shadows. The good thing about this brush, even though I don't think I use it properly for shading, but hey, it's good for getting into little nooks and crannies and doing sharp straight lines because of the angle that it's cut on. So it's handy even if I can't use it properly. So I'm just shading where I think the shadows would be if the light was coming from above and in front to some extent, and put some darks around it to make these items pop. And the reason I'm using these jars is one of the quotes I'm using today is 2 Corinthians 4 verse 7. It's, "But we have this treasure in jars of clay to show that the surpassing power belongs to God and not to us." And it's just to indicate that we are really just cracked jars. Well, I don't know about you, but I am. And now I'm just colouring these with some diluted acrylic paint. Because I've put the clear gesso over it, the acrylic paint sticks really well, even though it's diluted. I don't have to worry about it flaking off or not sticking properly. And I wanted to keep the printout visible so that I didn't have to go over all those words all over again. So that's why I'm using the diluted colours. I went over with the red twice because it tends to be really pale otherwise. And now I'm putting in the highlights with some white, titanium white, just straight out of the tub, and just putting it on the tops and the front a little bit to highlight the dimension of the jars. It gives a little bit of a three-dimensional effect. I also go over where the lines are for the lids that I've indicated on the pink jar, which has got loves and 2 on it. And now to fill in the background, all those bits of paper that I pulled off before, I'm gluing down, and there it is all filled in. And to add some colour, and so that I don't have to have people reading all the junk that's around it, I've got some burnt umber I'm using, not burnt sienna, burnt umber, and putting the darkest part around the jars so that they pop out of the page, and then just splatter the rest all around the edges, and just using it as a sort of a cover up for the rest of the page, but I want it patchy. So now I'm putting a little bit of black alcohol, homemade black alcohol ink. The spray doesn't work anymore, so I just use the stick, and that's a little bit of other ink that I've made up that I sprayed on. And these are the two verses. As I said, there's 2 Corinthians 4 verse 7, and also there is Psalm 139 verse 14, which says, I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works, my soul knows it very well. And I'm just aging these so that they fit into the page, so that in the end they sort of meld in with the rest of the rubbish. Now cutting off all the edges, now it's dry. There are still bits that are not as stuck down as it could be, but I'm quite happy with that raggedy sort of effect. Now I get the loosest parts off and just rip them off, and then figuring out where to put these things, and using the Mod Podge to glue them down. And my PITT pen, I wanted those jars to be cracked and old looking, and although I wrinkled them up, they still didn't look that old. So I've drawn on some cracks with the PITT pen. And now for the treasure, I'm using some gold paint. It's just cheap craft paint, but because it's going on the top, I don't have to worry about it being washed off by the next coat of paint. And I'm just putting, so it looks like these jars have got some treasure in it. So I'm just putting bits here and there, and using the PITT pen to give that gold paint a little bit of dimension, because it looks very flat otherwise. And the fake diamantes I'm adding with some glossy accents, because even though they're self-adhesive, they really don't stick very well without adding some other glue to it. And that's about done. Now just put my signature on there. Then I decide it really needs framing in a bit, so I go around the outside with vintage photo, and you really can't tell that I've done it, so then I get the black soot and go around it again with my blending tool, and that's the finished product. I hope you liked it. Bye.